Welcome to the Explainer. So you've probably been there, right? You're standing in front of the mirror wondering why that one specific area, maybe it's your belly, your love handles, or your thighs, just absolutely refuses to lean out. It feels totally impossible. You put in the work, you change your diet, you see results everywhere else, but that one stubborn spot, it just clings on for dear life. It's incredibly frustrating, and honestly, your feelings are completely valid. But today, we're going to look at exactly what the source material says about why this happens, and more importantly, how to actually fix it.
So, we got to start with the most obvious question. Why isn't the stubborn fat leaving? I mean, you've likely tried targeting it, right? Think about all those endless planks, the hundreds of crunches, or, oh man, maybe even those miracle sweating creams the fitness industry loves to push on us. Why aren't they working? You're putting in the targeted effort, so why isn't the fat just melting off that specific area? Well, it turns out the answer lies in literally one of the biggest misconceptions in modern fitness.
And here's the hard truth, guys. Spot reduction is a complete myth. You've been lied to. According to our source, no amount of planks or miracle creams will melt fat from one specific targeted area. It just doesn't work that way biologically. The source actually jokes that if these things really worked, we'd all be walking around with six-packs just from laughing at all the bad fitness advice out there. It's a pretty funny way to put it, but it hits the nail on the head as to why we need to completely rethink our approach to losing weight.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, the spot reduction myth. Second, how fat loss actually works. Third, the unfair role of genetics. Fourth, why most dieters fail. Fifth, the real stubborn fat solution. And finally, number 6, why building muscle matters. Let's get right into it. Okay, section 1, the spot reduction myth, unlearning the lies.
Let's dive into this. The fitness industry has spent literal decades trying to convince us that if we just do enough side bends, boom, the love handles will vanish. But to get real results, we have to totally toss that idea out the window. We've got to wipe the slate clean and look at what your body is actually doing when it taps into its fat reserves. And the key concept here? Systemic fat loss. This is the biological process where your body burns fat from absolutely everywhere at the exact same time, rather than from targeted spots. You don't get to decide where it burns fat first, and you definitely don't get to decide where it burns it last. The process is systemic. Your body is the one in the driver's seat here, pulling energy from all its storage sites simultaneously, just in varying amounts.
Moving right along to section 2, how fat loss actually works, the swimming pool.
Now, I know understanding systemic fat loss can feel a bit abstract. So how does it actually work in a way we can picture? Well, our source provides this fantastic analogy that makes the biology incredibly easy to grasp. Quote, "It's like trying to drain a swimming pool by picking which part of the water level drops first. It doesn't work that way." Just imagine that for a second. You can't just take a bucket of water out of the shallow end and expect only the shallow end's water level to go down, right? The entire pool's water level drops equally, and your body's fat stores work exactly the same way. When you burn calories, the quote-unquote water level of fat across your entire body drops slowly and systematically. You simply cannot drain just one corner of the pool.
Which brings us to section 3, the unfair role of genetics, where it stores. So, you're probably wondering, if the whole pool drains at once, why do certain areas seem to hold on to fat forever? Well, because while the pool drains evenly, the bottom of the pool isn't flat. Your body has these preferred deep pockets where it absolutely loves to store fat. And those preferences, yeah, they're hardwired right into your DNA. And genetics affect men and women totally differently. For men, stubborn fat usually sticks around the stomach and love handles. As the source jokingly points out, it's almost as if nature decided that dad bods were the peak of human evolution. Now for women, the genetic blueprint is different. The preferred storage sites are way more likely to be the hips, the thighs, and the butt. Because these genetic zones are where the body stores fat first and most heavily, they are inevitably going to be the very last places the fat actually leaves.
But hey, genetics has another trick up its sleeve. Face and neck fat. And absolutely nobody is safe from this one. I mean, have you ever gained just a few pounds and instantly noticed your face puffing up? This source actually describes this as your body essentially announcing to the whole world that you've been enjoying life just a little too much. It's a highly visible area, and for a lot of people, genetics dictate that even slight weight fluctuations show up right in the face and neck immediately.
That naturally leads us to section 4, why most dieters fail, the quitting point.
Because of these deep genetic storage spots, we run into a major psychological roadblock.
And this right here is exactly why most dieters fail. Listen, they don't fail because their biology is broken. They fail because they hit a very specific wall of frustration, what we're calling the quitting point. Let's look at a typical dieter's journey. Week 1, they start a calorie deficit. By week 3, they're actually making progress. But they lose fat in places they don't even care about. Maybe their forearms, their calves, or their face. By week 6, because that one stubborn genetic spot hasn't magically shrunk yet, they get incredibly impatient. And by week 8, they quit entirely. They just assume they're doing something wrong because their problem area isn't shrinking fast enough. But in reality, they literally just needed more time for the swimming pool to keep draining.
All right, Section 5, the real stubborn fat solution, simple biology.
So how do we actually get past that quitting point? No more gimmicks, no more myths. We're shifting away from all that frustration and looking at the hard, biological solution for melting away that final, deeply stored genetic fat. It all comes down to simple biology, and the absolutely crucial point is this. To lose stubborn fat, you have to lose all fat. There's no shortcut. You must maintain a calorie deficit, meaning you're either burning more calories than you consume or eating less than you burn. The source playfully notes that this is the exact same concept. It really just depends on whether you want to feel like a disciplined athlete or a victim of portion control. But either way, you've got to stay in that deficit. And most importantly, you have to wait it out. You just have to give your body the time it needs to finally reach those stubborn genetic storage sites.
And finally, Section 6, why building muscle matters, defining the core.
So what should you actually be doing while you patiently wait for that calorie deficit to drain the pool? Well, since we know you can't target fat loss, your absolute best proactive move is to target the muscle underneath the fat. And there's a simple 3-step process for this. Step 1, target your problem areas with strength training. If you're struggling with belly fat, you train your abs. If you're holding fat in your legs, you train your legs. But step 2 is where the mindset shift happens. You aren't doing this to burn fat in those spots. You are doing this to build muscle underneath the fat. That way, in step 3, when the overall fat finally drops away from your calorie deficit, you actually reveal a strong, beautifully defined physique, instead of just looking skinny. Now, of course, there are a few exceptions to building muscle underneath problem areas. If your face looks puffy, unfortunately, there's no face workout for that. You just have to keep losing overall systemic fat. As the source sarcastically jokes, spoiler alert, aggressively chewing gum is not going to burn your face fat. You just have to trust the systemic process and stay in your deficit.
So to wrap up the actionable advice here, it really all comes down to this. Stay consistent. A calorie deficit combined with strength training is the absolute fastest way to burn stubborn fat. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen. Our source highly recommends exploring structured strength programs to keep you focused on building that underlying muscle. They specifically highlight their own calisthenics playbook, which helps you build incredible strength and eventually unlock cool advanced moves, like one-arm push-ups. By the time you've mastered those, believe me, the stubborn fat will be long gone.
Fat loss is simple biology, sure, but it definitely isn't easy. It requires overriding your own impatience. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative question to really think about. Will you stay patient enough to actually see the results? Or will you be like most people and give up right before the finish line? The stubborn fat can and will eventually leave, but only if you give your body the time it needs to do the work. Stick with it, trust the biology, and please, don't be the person who quits right before the magic happens.